welcome to my channel, A Book Forest. My name is Kim and today I'm going to be doing my May and June wrap up, as well as a little bit of a August TBR. I'm not going to do a separate TBR this month because I don't have that many books on it. I haven't done a video in, I would say, a solid 3 weeks, if not more. I don't know, I haven't been much online since the beginning of summer, of July, and I think I needed a break. I haven't watched too much video, like some, but not too many, and I haven't filmed any videos, even though I don't edit at all, so it takes not that much time to film. I just film and post. I just couldn't find it in myself to do it. I was overstimulated, feeling a bit chaotic. I think the beginning of the summer holidays, I don't know, with the kids, everything started happening at once in my family, my job, my kids. So I just took a break. So I'm a bit late. I also had kind of a reading slump at the beginning of July. So I am a bit late in my July TBR, and I just didn't want to pile that many more books in August. So I'm gonna go see where it leads me, really. But for the wrap up, I'm gonna start with, as usual, the one I enjoyed the least up to the one I enjoyed the most. I had good reading months for May and June. I read quite a bit, so I was pleased with that, and I enjoyed most of my reads. So the one I enjoyed the least was definitely The House of Fortune by Jessie Burton. It's the sequel to The Miniaturist, which is very popular, kind of a historical fiction, but with a slight fantasy twist, with some fantasy elements, so magical realism, I would call it. It's very good, The Miniaturist. I would recommend it, but definitely it works totally well as a standalone. You do not need to read this sequel. I would not recommend it. I gave this 2 stars. I think it did not need to be written. It's kind of, I think probably the first book, The Miniatures, was so popular. The author, the editor, maybe they wanted to cash in or something. But honestly, she didn't have much to say in this book. It's a sequel 20 years later, and what made the first book really nice and magical is absent from this one, in my opinion. And it feels forced. The characters we left off in the first book at the end, I was satisfied with the ending. I was imagining a life for them and kind of optimistic. And this kind of destroyed all of this. The characters that we learned in the first book are unlikable. The new characters are absolutely insufferable. And the magic is totally absent. The nice creepy atmosphere, the mystery, the magical stuff, everything that made the first book really good didn't make this one. It was absent from this one. So overall, I would not recommend reading it. Just stick with the first book. Then I read a library book, so I don't have it in my hands, but it's the Midnight Library by Matt Haig. So I think it's a very popular book. It had loads of ratings, and I just read it because one of my coworkers told me she really enjoyed it. And when your coworkers are readers and they read kind of the similar books to you, it's nice just to discuss it together, like a little coworker book club. So I read it. I gave it 3 stars. I mean, it's okay. It's not my kind of book. I think, if you've seen, it's kind of similar to It's a Wonderful Life, the movie, about George Bailey, and he regrets all his decisions in his life, and he wants to end it all. He feels useless and like he was worthless and everything he did was wrong. It's kind of similar. It's a girl who's kind of not achieved much in her life. She had talent, she had potential, but she has some mental health issues, and she has some relationship issues, and she chose things and she ends up at the beginning of the book she lives alone and she has a little nowhere, like the job she has is kind of going nowhere, and she has no one in her life really. But and then she decides to end it, and then that's what happens after that. It's like she's in the midnight library and she gets to sample any life that she could have chosen. Like she gets to live in the life, like, oh, what if I had decided to marry this guy, where would I be now? So she kind of samples all those realities. It's fun, but it's not something that I'm attracted to. I don't like that kind of setup, like, oh, I'm going in the life but you end up not living it. For some reason, for me it doesn't work. I think it's probably because it lacks a bit of depth, to my opinion. But yeah, it's a fun read. Like if you liked It's a Wonderful Life and some types of movies or books like that, you might enjoy it. It's solid. I mean, it's definitely not a bad book, just not something that I personally clicked with. Yeah, I've seen like other movies, like with the, like you get to live a life, like you have either amnesia or and also it reminds me of Christmas Carol as well, but not as good. Yeah, like you have amnesia or you get like a wake up call or things like that. I usually have gripes with it, because at the end it's like, well, what about the life that I just spent so much time seeing? Now you're gonna abandon all this, or so I think A Christmas Carol is the best, and then It's a Wonderful Life is great, and then after that one is, yeah. I'd say like it's for beginners in fantasy or people who enjoy literary fiction, things like that. I would say it's probably more up your alley. That was fun. Then I also finished my Historathon Q2 second quarter She-Wolves by Helen Castor. I also gave this 3 stars. I was kind of disappointed in this one, honestly. I was expecting to love it, but it says She-Wolves, and it says that it's about the women, like the women that were almost queens before Elizabeth. So you have Matilda, Empress Matilda, you have Eleanor of Aquitaine, you have Margaret of Anjou, and then it talks also about Mary Stuart, Mary the First, Bloody Mary, and it's kind of, I don't know, I would say not focused on the women that much. It's more like a history book, and it talks about a portion of history where these women were living and achieving things, but it doesn't really focus on their point of view or the angle from their side. It just has them in there. So that's why I was disappointed. It was more like general history, so it's good, and it's not even a good starting point if you start like for history of England, because it has it skips entire pans of the history, so it just skips from one woman to the next, like centuries. So I would have liked for it to be more focused on each individual lady and have the point of view from there, and then flash a light on what's happening from their end. Which had, like when I read Praetorian by Guy de la Bédéère, I had that, like everything was from the Praetorian, and anything that touched it was included, anything that didn't touch it was not included. So this is, I think, where it fell. I think the best section was Margaret of Anjou for me. I think maybe because there's more history, there's more material, there's more historical records of that time period, like during the War of the Roses, than the medieval queens. So she was probably working with not that much material. Some of them are Impress Matilda, there's not much written about her because she was the loser. So the winners, the people who were writing history were all men, and they did not like her, and so they kind of either ignore her or bash her. But I would have liked some commentary on that, maybe. So there is some, like, but it's just too surface level and things that I already knew. So I was a bit disappointed in that one. Hopefully, I will read another Helen Castor. I have another one of her books, so eventually I might read her again. She writes well. Like, it's not her writing that's a problem. It's just my expectations and the reality of the book were not the same. Then I read Foundation and Earth. So I really loved the book that came before that by Asimov, Foundation's Edge. I really enjoyed that one. Foundation and Earth, a bit less. I think it's kind of an ending of a series, but it doesn't feel like an ending. It feels like a totally separate story that doesn't even belong in the same world in some ways. I also feel like there's a lot of things happening that are probably related to the Robot series, which I haven't read. So I might have enjoyed that more if I read the Robot series before. So I would probably say if you're gonna read the Foundation series, start with the trilogy. It's great. Then maybe go into the Robot series, and then read the sequels and I haven't read the prequels yet. Like I still have 2 books to read, but they're set before the Foundation trilogy. So we'll see. But that one I was kind of left wanting, and there is some weird characters in this. I still enjoy the duo of Golan Trevize and Yanov Pelora, but the rest was kind of, I don't know. It left me wanting more, and the ending was what? The ending was very strange to me. I should have read the Robot series first. Then I read They Do It With Mirrors by Agatha Christie. I'm sorry. This is part of my project for, my Miss Marple project for this year. I'm reading all of her books, 1 per month. So I enjoyed this one. It was good. I don't know. There was some, like Miss Marple again. I don't know. Like sometimes she comes up, and I'm puzzled at why is she there. In this one, it was all right. I think there's too many characters in that one. That's what hindered the enjoyment of the book for me. I still enjoyed it tremendously. I gave this 4 stars, but I could have done with a few less characters. So They Do It With Mirrors is not. I thought initially that the title was about what happens in the book, but it's not really. It's mostly a saying, like theater saying, like they do it with mirrors. It means they're kind of an illusion, or put your attention there, but everything's happening there. And I did guess who did it, so to me it's like I don't want to guess. I want you to surprise me, but I did end up guessing, which I was like, oh, good for me. But at the same time, I prefer when I am surprised. But I still enjoyed very much. It's one of the best ones. Too many characters. Then I finished finally Wind and Truth, because I started this when it came out in December 2024. But then it's such a huge book, it can't be carried very well, and doesn't really lend itself to reading it in the bed either. So I was stuck reading it kind of sitting on a table or in a chair. And when it came out, there was a lot of negative reviews about it and people being really pissed off. And I was kind of dimmed my enjoyment a bit, so I waited a bit. And also, like, I had come to a part where one of the characters, Shalon, was undercover, like she's always infiltrating something, and it was stressing me out because I hate undercover. I just discovered this while reading. I really not comfortable with that, but overall I enjoyed it. 4 stars. I enjoyed the first 4 books better from the Stormlight archive. The first 3 are really amazing. 4th one I enjoyed. This one, it left me wanting, and I understand why people who've been reading this series for like 15 years or 10 years are like, what is this it? I understand. It feels like a middle book to me. It's part of a 10-book series. I think it's planned 10-book series. And I expected this to wrap up every plot, like from that era. And then we'd start fresh in the second era. But it's not really what happens. There's a lot of things left hanging. A lot of characters that we don't know what their fate is. A lot of characters that have been developed from the beginning of the series that have had no action yet. So of course I expect that they're going to be used in the next one, but for a huge book like this, it's kind of controversial. I'm okay because I've only started reading this series in 2024, so it's no big deal to me. But yeah, it's kind of it was a bold choice to say the least. And also it's a long book, and there's a lot of things that it might have been shorter, but overall I think maybe the magic was not entirely there anymore from the first ones. The first books are magical. I think probably he writes too much. That's my theory, because I've read the whole Cosmere, and he seems to be sticking to a very strict schedule, and he writes a lot of series all at once. Maybe he's spreading himself too thin. That's my maybe. And maybe his editors are not doing him favors. He's including things in there that didn't need to be there, that feel like something that doesn't come from him. So he might have been told, like, you should include such and such. But overall, I still enjoyed it. I love the characters. So I still enjoyed the ride. But yeah, I feel like maybe you should take a bit more time. You should have taken a bit more time to finish this one. It feels unpolished. Also, I'm gonna say, like, he has this big Cosmere. I enjoy it better when it's smaller, like when you don't have the Cosmere coming in. When you're on the planet, like for example Mistborn, which I read first and I loved the first trilogy. I felt like, wow, that blew me away. It was so good. But then it starts, like in the second era, it starts involving like the rest of the Cosmere, like spoiler. But there's Cosmere coming in, like the bigger universe, like a bit like, MCU, stuff like that. I always enjoyed when it's more small, like contained, because the events seem more intense to me. If it's just one small planet among others, it feels less important than if it's just this world and there's no other. So that's a personal preference. But it's less impactful for me when you involve, like, when you make it bigger. So, but overall, I'm still gonna keep going with the Cosmere because I still enjoy it. So, and then I read the last book in the Howl's Moving Castle trilogy, House of Many Ways. So I finished one series, 2. My God, amazing! Finished 2 series at least. So this I loved. It's my favorite book of the trilogy. The first book is great. It's Howl, but like I read it mostly because of the Studio Ghibli movie. But this was lovely. It's about a girl who is kind of raised to do nothing. Her mom likes to think of herself as a bit of an, bourgeoisie, aristocracy, or something. Like the lady should not do anything. So she's kind of reading all the time and not paying attention to anything around her much. And then she's kind of put into the position that she needs to take care of an uncle's house while he's getting an operation. But the uncle is a magician, a wizard, and his house is very interesting. It bends space and time. So if you turn left, you could end up in a completely different area of the house, or like there seems to be a wall, but if you turn a sharp left, you're in the kitchen. And yeah, it's really fun. The house is magical, and she's kind of discovers a bit how to do things on her own. And she also has another boy coming in the house at the same time as her, and they're kind of interacting and bickering, and it's fun. They're like young people, and there's like a dog, and I love a dog, and it's just so much fun, and like a coming of age, and the characters were just funny, lovely. The house was cool. You see some of the old characters from the previous 2 books. So overall, I think it's a lovely trilogy. I would call it middle grade. So yeah, I would highly recommend, and this is my favorite one from the trilogy. And yeah, it had a touch of magic in there. So then I read a sequel from An Ember in the Ashes. It's called Hair by Saba Tahir. So I read the Ember in the Ashes quartet a few years ago, and really enjoyed it. Like, it's a YA. I would call it YA. But it's quite dark. Like, it doesn't feel light. Like, it feels, the characters feel deep, and some of the things that happen are messed up. And I didn't know if I would enjoy this as much as the previous quartet, because I had grown attached to all the characters, but some of them are still in there. But I actually grew attached to the new characters, which is, it's not something that happens all the time, so it's special. The world is quite interesting. It's sort of based on the alternate Roman legion, like Roman society. Very, like there's the emperor, and then there's like the marshals who are a big deal. And then you have the rest of the people, like the soldiers, and then the rest of the people. In the first quartet, we discuss a lot of the classes and what happens. Like, there's a lot on that, and it's still going on in this book, but it's mostly a lot of adventure, and it's the people from different regions of the world that we had not explored in the previous books that come together for different reasons. It talks about betrayal, there's magic, there's a lot of very disturbed people or creatures in there. And there's a definite, like, I don't know, I really liked it. And there's a nice love story, so it's always nice. But it's believable. And it ends on a cliffhanger, so I can't wait to read the second book. I think it comes out in September. So overall, like, of course, like, I would read An Ember in the Ashes before the quartet, but it's not a big commitment. It's easy to read, and definitely it's a very good follow-up. So I'm happy. Then my favorite book I read was Pocket Full of Rye, Miss Marple again. This one was great. I did not guess who did it. And Miss Marple is in there for a very legitimate reason. Like, she doesn't just pop up out of nowhere or gets invited for no reason. So there's a very strange murder that happens, of course, at the beginning. And it's a gentleman, a very rich gentleman, in his office, and he dies mid cup of tea, and his pocket is full of rye, the grain, which is strange. And it starts from there, and then there's two worlds in that book. There's the office world, like we explore a bit of the secretaries and the other people working in the office, and then you go to the personal home of said gentleman, and you see like his family life, and like the mystery is interesting, and the characters are really like usual, a bit deeper than usual. And I enjoyed in the office setting. It was a bit different, something you don't really see with Miss Marple usually, and it's probably a picture of the actual office setting of that time. So yeah, it was fun. 5 stars. I love that one. It's my favorite one after Murder at the Vicarage, which was the first one I read. So I was happy to get another high like this. So those are all the books I read in May and June, which it's a good deal. For me, it's a lot. So I'm just going to talk about a couple of books I'm going to probably read in August. For sure, I will read this one, The Mirror Cracked from Side to Side, because it's my August read for my Miss Marple project. I think this one is very nice, glamorous actress in her house, and there's like a murder that happens about, like, that's all I know, but she lives in a village, and she's very like an older actress, and something happens, so we'll see. I like the title, Tennyson, from The Lady of Shalott, I would say, so I like that. And then we have there's another one I would like to get to. I might not, I don't know if I'll have time, but I would like to get to Isles of the Ember Dark by Brandon Sanderson. It's the latest Cosmere release, and it's the only one I haven't read. And it's a sequel to a novella. It's Six of the Dusk, set on a different world completely from his other books. I loved the novella. I really, really, really enjoyed it. So it's set on a world that's very dangerous, like everything is trying to kill you. It's like a jungle, but 10 times, 100 times worse than the real jungle, which I would never set foot into, because I hate snakes and spiders and things like that. But yeah, I would definitely love to read. Like I love the character of Six. He has like they in that world they bond with birds, and the birds give them abilities. Very interesting concept. And I can't wait to see like what happens. I think it's because the world is being invaded by people who want to exploit the birds, and they're trying to defend their world, which I always love. So we'll see. So those are the couple of books I would like to get to in August, and finish all my other TBR that I haven't gotten to yet. So let me know what you'll be reading in August. Let me know if you've read any of the books I've mentioned, what you thought of them, and see you next time.